I made a proposal to amend the standing orders of the Senate so that a member from the party not in government will be chairing that committee. But our speaker overruled that proposal, despite the fact that the technical committee of the House had agreed with my proposal. Number two, I was looking at the issue of audit of the elections, where the proposal in the bill was to allow the chair of the IBC to audit, if I'm not mistaken, to audit, to present an audit report. Now you can imagine if Chebukati was to do the audit, what will he have said in that audit? So we need to relook at that proposal so that an independent office does that audit. They are supposed to file reports in Parliament, but I don't think any was filed for the last general election, because they used to file reports which were considered by the JLAC of both houses. But in this year, I haven't seen, or in the last election, I haven't seen that audit. Thank you.
Very much. Again, Honorable Zain will answer that. I think that's what even 138(4)H envisages. It's just that IBC doesn't do it. Honorable Sosi, then Honorable Fatuma Network.
Thank you, Prof. Maybe if you can allow me to comment on opening of servers, which someone asked, that we talked about opening of servers and servers have not been opened. I've gone through the amendments, but one low-lying fruit, which I think the coalition should think about, is that in the Election Act, it provides for a joint technology committee between IBC, the political parties, and I think we have a few government agencies. And that provision was amended along the way after 2017 election to give IBC the discretion to have the committee or not to have the committee. So when we went to 2022 election, IBC just did not initiate that committee. And that's why you could see that a lot of the technologies they brought, the political parties were not very conversant. But in 2017, there was that committee. And that is what gave us a great chance of even winning the case at the Supreme Court. So what I would suggest is that we need to propose an amendment so that we make it mandatory for IBC to have that IT technology joint committee. And that will help us deal with issues of servers, issues of procurement, issues of the nature of technology, issues of data, and all that. The other issue is the amendment to the Political Parties Act. Yes, I know from the amendments, the new authority is going to have representation from the other parties, which are outside government. But then the elephant in the house is not that. The elephant in the house is financial independence of the office of the Registrar of Political Parties. If that is not there, then we'll still have challenges. Because even now, the Registrar of Political Parties, despite the fact that the law provides that 0.03% of the national income must go to political parties, the executive decides to vary that all the time. And she cannot do anything. So I would propose that apart from having that new authority, we need to have an amendment so that we give the new authority financial independence so that they cannot be manipulated at the whims of the executive. The last point which I want to just comment on the speech by His Excellency Kalonzo on the aggressions by this regime. One aggression which I think we need to speak to which senators who are here agree with me, is there is a deliberate scheme to kill devolution in this country. We see things happening, some of the functions which are devolved, clear schemes to take them back to the national government. And even and I want to thank our members who are in the National Assembly. They stood so firm on the issue of division of revenue. You know, as a result of the Finance Bill Act which they passed, counties are going to require an additional 34 billion shillings to finance the effects of the Finance Act which they passed. And now they are saying that they cannot increase money to the counties, they can only increase 6 billion shillings. I think what we need to do as a team, as a Azimio team, is that those who will sit on the mediation committee, they need to go there with one issue, that we want to retain the 415 billion shillings. They are telling us that, oh, if we go for 415, CDF will be reduced, Sijui Kera will be reduced. We are not talking about reducing Kera. We are simply saying, this is what you have as a national government, and this is what we should have as counties. So I want to urge this team that we stand firm against any attempt to kill devolution. And surprisingly, they have even taken over COG. And some of our governors ignorantly are in bed with this government. They come and tell them, look here, we want to help you finance this function like CHPs. We'll give you 50% counterpart funding. And they agree. But slowly by slowly, these functions are going back to the executive. The issue of alcoholic drink registration, you heard yesterday Deputy President saying they want to take over. So I think we need to stand firm, and this is one of the things that we should be talking tough, apart from the cost of living issue.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sosi. I think, again, that will be answered, but on the political party fund, I think we have it in the report. It might be weak in the act. Maybe you look, that's one of the issues that needs alignment so that it's dealt with. Honorable Fatuma, Full Network, then Honorable Mwenje, then finally, Dr. Buru. But please be brief, because I'm told time is running out, yet the leadership has to also give resolutions before we leave. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My concern goes to when we pass bills in the House, especially the National Assembly. In the National Assembly, I'm a witness on several occasions, a bill is read and passed within 1 second. And they have a habit that when they know it is a bill that Azimio coalition was against, the likes of Osoro and Ichungwa makes the noise that you cannot even listen to the bill that is being read. It is read and then they know the bill that is being read. And the moment one raises a point of order, they make sure they shout, and then the speaker passes the bill. Under 1 second, a bill is passed. What other alternative do we have other than beating them the way we normally do?
Well, that's one thing that mtaenda muongee ndani kwa ndani. Honorable Mwenje.
Thank you very much. Mine will be brief. About 2 weeks ago, we were with Your Excellency Kalonzo and the Right Honorable Raila in Embakasi South donating food. Coincidentally, on the same day, the president spoke about NADCO while celebrating the 20 years anniversary. I believe it should be a strategy from here that we corner him with these words during that meeting. We might have missed it because we were ourselves somewhere else. Where we can corner him because he asked the leader of majority, where are you with these NADCO bills? And he asked the speaker. And I would propose we have a priority list. Now that we are done with IEBC, I would propose we maybe make the Political Parties Act to be the next priority. This is because, especially for the Jubilee Party, which we are suffering most, if those amendments can go through, it can really assist those of us. I think also the SG, and who is here, and the SG Jubilee is going to comment. Jubilee made a mistake by getting themselves to be recognized as a parliamentary party, because I believe they can now not appoint some of the members based on the formula, unless the coalition is lenient, because there's a provision that says that I think the fifth person being appointed comes from a party not recognized as a parliamentary party. So that is a mistake that Jubilee did, that they haven't figured it out yet. One of the other things I'd want to add, I noticed Senator Wambua mentioned it, is that if you allow in the Senate the Jubilee to be a parliamentary party, you'll be stuck with the problem we have. Because now we had a select committee to remove Linturi, and we are divided 6-5, but they give Jubilee, because it's a parliamentary, opposition. So your actual numbers become 7-4. So I think you should resist that attempt to recognize as a parliamentary party, because it will work against our favor as a coalition. Finally, it's just to add on the issue that our leader Mbui spoke about. Leader, I believe that issue of committees, because in JLAC, we are suffering. We have 2 members who are with us out of the 15. So if we are able to find a way on the floor, and maybe through other legal means, to change that, because if we don't have JLAC, if we don't have numbers, having 2 members out of 15 makes our work with NADCO very difficult. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now go to the youth leader, and then I'll come to Honorable Kioni after that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to first of all agree with my brother here, Honorable Wambua, on the issue of different, on the issue of chairmanship of the Commission for Political Parties. That one of gender, I quite agree that we need to have a gender, the person chairing from different gender, and the person who is deputizing from a different gender. But we need to add that the other person must come from a different party. They must come from political parties. Mr. Chairman, I also want to just give my frustration on this word deemed, which you have removed. You have removed the word deemed and replaced it with the deregistration. And replacement of deregistration simply means retaining the status quo. Because, Mr. Chairman, when you deregister, you remove him from the party. He's not going to be a member of political party, but he is going to remain as a member of parliament, because removal of a member of parliament has been changed. The one you quoted, which was once you cross the floor, once you cross from your party which sponsored you to elections, you move to another party, or you support another party which did not sponsor you in the elections, then you lose your seat and you go for election. That is what we used to have. What we have now is that a member of parliament can either resign or be recalled. And that process of recalling is very complicated. So how do we amend the law so that when you register a member from a political party which sponsored him to parliament, then he loses his seat? Otherwise, the people, they will just continue the way it is until the next election. They will not feel anything. They will just continue to be members and support the ruling party the way they are doing. And I don't think they really will bother. It will not bother them, because the situation will remain the same. So we should not be clapping for deregister. You deregister them, so what? They will just continue, because they are already working with order. They are order anyway. And the other one I I wanted to comment on is on the Electoral Commission. On the Electoral Commission, you are saying that there will be a chair. There will be a chair, but elected by the 7 members. Once you select a chair, and you say the decision will be made by the commission, but I have not heard you defining for me what commission means. What is the quorum? How many members will make that decision to say that the commission has made that decision? How many of them will make that decision so that you say the commission has made a decision? Of course, you have made them 7 so that, you don't have, and I don't know whether this chair has any extra vote to decide, or he is just a chair and he doesn't have you call it casting, the casting vote or something like that. So how the devil is in the detail. We want to know the detail of what this commission means, that decision of the commission. What is it? That is my question, Mr. Chairman. That's all. Thank you.
Very much. I think I'm looking at the detail. Then I'll answer you at the right time, because you raise an important issue which I think we had addressed, but I'm just trying to confirm. Now, this is the way we shall proceed as we wind up. We are going to have Honorable Jeremiah Kioni immediately coming to give his remarks. No? Later. Okay. Then we go back to answering the questions and comments, and we will start with Honorable Ndai. Then we will come to Honorable Zain. Then we will give Honorable Stuart Mazai to also stroke Sifuna before we come to the closing. Those are the minority leaders.
I also want to agree that there is very little keenness or interest on the other side for these bills to be fast-tracked. And therefore, it's incumbent upon us who are here, especially those who are especially those who sit in the respective House business committees, to see to it that these bills are prioritized. As we speak, the Constitutional Amendment Bill is yet to be published. And yet, it has got timelines in the Constitution. You can't vary those timelines. And yet again, we know that 2 of the statute amendment bills, that is the Leader of Opposition Bill and the Coordination of National Government Amendment Bill, are dependent upon the passage of the Constitutional Amendment Bill. You must understand that you won't be able to touch on the leader of official opposition bill or the coordination of national government amendment bill, which is a bill dealing with the office of the prime minister, the proposed office of the prime minister. So let's understand that. Again, I want to plead with my colleague members that please let's take time and read these bills. We shall endeavor again to post them in our group, the WhatsApp groups today. We did so earlier on, I think. Please download them and read them. The entrenchment of funds, there are only 3 funds that we are entrenching in the Constitution for clarification, for clarity. The NGCDF fund, the Affirmative Action Fund, and the Senate Oversight Fund. The World Development Fund is not being entrenched in the Constitution because we realized during NADCO proceedings that there's already a clause in the Constitution that provides for such funds at the counties. What we agreed is basically enact an ordinary legislation at the national level to deal with the management of those funds in the counties and in the wards. The IBC, I agree on the issue of the political parties amendment bill. The proposed commission, I agree with the members who have spoken before me. We shall have to realign it rather, so that either of the chair or vice come from the 2 coalitions. On the IBC amendment bill again, what is envisaged is that once the bill becomes an act of parliament, the current panel will stand dissolved. We have, however, given them a window, the members of the current panel, to perhaps reapply under the new law once it is enacted. And therefore, there's no issue of continuity. Whoever is in that panel and wishes to be a member of the new panel will have to go through the process as currently captured in the bill. The Honorable Senator Kajwang's bill is a very, very important bill. Because remember, in NADCO, we haggled over the issue of the clamor for new counties, the review of county boundaries, and yet we came to the realization that the Constitution provides, first and foremost, for the establishment of that commission. Okay? That was our recommendation, that let the commission be established under the law for it to do its bit. The opening of the server. You will realize that in the NADCO report, we had agreed to the establishment of a panel of 6 persons to undertake a holistic audit of the 2022 elections, presidential elections. And we went ahead as Azimio to nominate our 3 persons, one of whom is Senator Judy Pareno. Of course, the others are Senator Amos Wako and one Julius Njirain. The Kenya Kwanza side, again, of course, also did their nomination, albeit too late in the day. They dragged their feet up to the very last minute. All the same, they did their nominations of their 3 panelists. However, this process has been stopped midstream. In fact, even before it took off by a court order, which was issued somewhere in Kiambu, I think. So we are fighting it in court for the order to be lifted, for that panel to be inaugurated, for it to do its work. So the issue of opening servers still remains alive as far as we are concerned. Finally, the issue of the bills again. There is no issue of us starting with political parties and so on and so forth. Let all these bills be progressed. The 4 in the Senate must be progressed. The same way the 3 now remaining in the National Assembly must also be progressed. they must all be prioritized because they can be addressed, they can be handled, they can be processed concurrently or simultaneously. The political, and this year Senator Mazai will have to comment on this, or Senator Sifuna. The definition of parliamentary party, as was ably explained by Senior Counsel Otienda Mulu, it was lacking, it was missing in the original NADCO bill. NADCO did not define parliamentary party. The Joint JLAC Committee, in its wisdom, defined it. And that was one of the amendments that we agreed could be introduced in the IBC amendment bill. The definition, however, was limited to basically lifting it from the National Assembly signing orders. That therefore left out the bit of the Senate. My take, and I'll be advised. My take is that as it is currently, we are safe with that definition. However, if there's room to make it uniform, that 5% be applicable both in the Senate and National Assembly, I have no idea. But we are totally opposed. To the idea of tampering with the current situation in Senate, which is that a parliamentary party is a party with a minimum of 10 senators, from what I understand. Any attempt to bring down that number would create problems. Okay? It will simply create room for other small parties. Let me not call them small. Let me withdraw that. For some parties to want to be recognized as parliamentary parties and then cause us trouble in the manner they are doing in National Assembly. So I'll leave it to senators. My take is that we are safer not making any further amendment to that bill as it is currently in the Senate. If you have to, please let's consult widely. Finally, the Honorable Dr. Oburu Oginga has spoken very eloquently on the matter of deemed and the registered. I just want to clarify, and you may help me, yes, that it is indeed true. Let Honorable Oburu listen to this, Ndiege. It is indeed true that we replaced the terminology deemed with the registered. But again, what is the implication of being deregistered? The implication is that once you are deregistered by a political party, on whatever ground, you cease to hold the elective position that you currently hold. In other words, once you are registered, you lose your seat. But then there's a caveat. You are given a window to appeal the decision. Under the Constitution, you know, it's everybody's right. But that window is not open-ended. It is 90 days. From the time you are registered by a political party, you have got a maximum of 90 days to go through the appeal process in court. Okay? That therefore doesn't create the usual mischief of people keeping us in court forever. And yet they have been deregistered, they have been deemed as before. Okay? That will help us really address the issue of indiscipline in our political parties. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As I ask Governor Nderitu to come, I just want to reiterate what Honorable Ndai is saying, although also give room to what Dr. Buru is saying to be looked at in detail, because we might have missed some details. But indeed, the current Article 103 says that vacation of office of Member of Parliament under 1I, as a member of a political party, the member resigns from the party or is deemed to have resigned from the party as determined in accordance with the legislation contemplated in Clause 2. Now, what we have done in the constitutional amendment, and I'm sorry, because we were lifting what we have in the bills to the constitutional amendment, what we now have under the constitutional amendment bill, under 103, is under I now, one vacates the office of a member of Parliament becomes vacant. Under I now reads, as a member of a political party, the member resigns from that party. No, I'm reading the wrong one. Let me read the right one. Resigns from, anyway, the point is that if you are deregistered now, you cease to be a member. And once, as Honorable Wandai says, you have exhausted those 90 days, then that registration takes effect, and therefore, But we need, I've told Tony Muturi that we'll look at it so that any loose ends are tied the way Dr. Buru is saying. Governor Murray.
I was asked by way of a note to say the three big things. Now, look, members, we apologize, it was brief. The leadership will organize a detailed briefing. The slides that we have prepared will in any case be circulated to you. I'm told it will be quite soon before you get back into debate. So the three big things: the VAT treatment is increasing the price of bread and allied products. It's also increasing taxes on financial services. The new taxes on motor vehicles will increase the cost of transportation. So those are the sort of three big things. But I leave it there. When we meet again, we'll go into detail. I also notice, of course, some Kenyans are inviting themselves to our event on Friday. So we should say that the accreditation of delegates is going on, and they shouldn't do that. We are accrediting professionals, business organizations, clergy, civil society. It is organized by political parties who are members of this coalition. That's really what all Kenyans should know. Political parties, but also other parties who are not members of this coalition. It's by invitation. We thank you very much. And Asante, I think Honorable Kioni will add to that. Yes, Makofi. Thank you.
Okay, now Honorable Zain, you can come and answer the questions that were directed to you on elections.
Prof, I use this one, huh? Yes. Okay, so a number of questions that have been asked. What I'll try to do is to cluster them in thematic concerns. And if I don't do justice to any of the questions, you could ask for a clarification. So let me start with the IBC amendment bill, which was introduced by senior counsel, and what they did at JLAC Departmental Committee. I would like to add the following details. Number one, there are two interrelated processes, actually three interrelated processes that will be contained in the IBC Act as part of our demands for electoral justice. So the first one is reconstitution of the IBC Commission. And I think that has been well articulated. There is not much one can add except the following. It seems there was a little bit of misunderstanding between the Political Party Registration Authority and the IBC Commission. And that is something that can be clarified very easily. But let me start with the IBC Commission. What is in the law is the process of reconstituting the panel. And then what is in the law is the improvement of appointment of commissioners. What is not in the law but is in the NADCO agreement is that the appointment process shall be based on consultations and concurrence between the leaders of the Kenya Kwanza coalition and the Azimio coalition. So I hope that is clear in terms of the IEBC commission. In terms of the Political Parties Registration Authority, Professor Adams has already readily admitted that there is room for improvement and alignment. This is the new word that is being used. If the other side is bringing good ideas, we should not reject them. We should evaluate them on the basis of the value of those ideas. And the same should apply to us. If we bring good ideas, they should also be open to listen and align. Only to have the following caution to finish this point. Don't open the window too ajar. You need to have the essence of the agreement and also a small window for good ideas for improvement. Okay? Now, let me come to the question of the second component in terms of electoral justice. We've said you cannot have electoral justice if the full gambit of the constitutional requirements are not implemented. One of the aspects that we have never used in the Constitution, no one has ever used, we are the first one to identify it, is in Article 884H. Under Article 884H of the Constitution, there are three processes that IEBC are supposed to facilitate. In our interpretation, and the correct interpretation, is that these three processes are outside IEBC. IEBC cannot do these processes. So what are these processes? Process number one is election observation. IEBC cannot observe its own elections. Process number two is monitoring of elections. Lo and behold, we have never opened up to say what does monitoring of elections constitute. And there is great room in monitoring of elections to do due diligence to ensure that elections are credible. But the third and most important is the evaluation of elections. If IBC does an evaluation, that is an internal evaluation or internal audit. Under 884H, we demand that it is by an independent body. But having said that, then we must separate between two processes. The process of auditing the 2022 elections and the process of anchoring the institutional framework for any future elections. So the process of auditing the 2022 presidential election has been agreed in the NADCO process, and the leader of majority has explained in great detail that a panel has been constituted, and an eminent member of that panel is sitting with us. But I have an update from Advocate Tony Muturi saying that that case was going to be heard today, and we have people representing our interests and demanding that we need to be enjoined and be part of that case so that we can also submit what our position is. That is from the legal team. But what you find in the Elections Amendment Bill is how future audits will become automatic. They become automatic. No longer can somebody say pretty and say, we are the Supreme Court, We have made a determination, that's the end of it. No one can question it. They would know that there is an audit coming after every election. And this audit will be independent and not subject to control by IEBC. Now let me get to the next point in terms of electoral justice. We also negotiated and agreed that once the new commission has been appointed, they will institute a review of the work that has been done by previous commissions. Somebody says time. I'll talk about time after I've made this point. And this point is this, that it will review the past performance of the secretariat, the management, the commission, decision-making processes, and everything. And restructure, propose restructuring. And the report for proposals for restructuring will come to Parliament. If Parliament gives a seal of approval, those changes will be added. Now, I'm going to say something out of turn. Those who know me, they know I also speak out of turn sometimes. And I sometimes apologize in advance, so nobody can accuse me of not apologizing. Our leaders in the coalition, our leaders in Parliament, you have seen there is a demand for more consultations and adequate time set aside for such consultations. And where we are going, and because majority of you are Christians, I'll use a Christian symbolism. We are going to the mountaintop. And where we are going require much closer consultations, much closer agreement on issues, and much closer agreement on tactics and strategies, including having an opportunity to go close by close. But having said that, I'll abide by the pressing time, including the very important activity that is going to be done in Mathare this afternoon, by ending with two submissions. My sister, Honorable Pareno, part of what you're saying will be captured in the restructuring. But part of it depends on us. Part of it depends on us. You know, some of these jobs are advertised. And if we do not mobilize and get people to apply with the right qualifications, you cannot cry afterwards after they have had skewed recruitment. Let me finish with a point which is the most important, and is a hallmark of the beginning of an electoral cycle. That is two interrelated principles. One, acquiring of identity cards. We know that people start rigging by refusing to give identity cards to particular places in this country where they think that we have strongholds. So we must demand equality and equity in the issuance of identity cards. Why are identity cards important? Because you cannot register as a voter if you don't have an ID card. Simple logic, right? Then the next thing is registration of voters. So my sister, Senator Pareno, the register is going to be reviewed, but we must. Do you know that the continuous registration is going on? So we should be registering people if we are serious, because that forms who can vote in this country. Let me finish with Senator Omtata and related matters. Senator, we don't want to, wanasema Waswahili, kwenye kuku wengi usimwage mtama. Sasa hatutaki kumwaga mtama mwingi hapa, lakini kusema hivi, elections zinakuishia At the polling station, I'm agreeing with you. At the constituency and at the county. Why county? Because that's where we say at least 25%. Bomas become superfluous. If results are going to be transmitted simultaneously to them and simultaneously to presidential candidates and all their agents, by midnight we should know the results. Latest 1 o'clock in the morning. And by that time, each constituency will declare the presidential results and it will be published in the media. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zain. Now I want to hand over the program to the Senate Minority Leader, Honorable Stuart Mazayo, who will handle this last part of the program.
Thank you. Asante. Waheshimiwa wenzangu, kwa sababu ya muda nataka kuchukua nafasi hii ambao pengine mimi ningeongea kumpatia katibu mkuu Katibu mkuu ndugu yangu Sifuna kwa muda mchache kidogo, tafadhali njoo.
Thank you very much, Leader. In the interest of time, I'm going to be a bit fast and brief. I want to thank Dr. Annette for putting together this particular briefing, because in Azimio, it is important to know things and to speak from a position of knowledge. We are the only coalition who does these things for our members of parliament so that they can debate and engage on issues from a position of knowledge. You will not hear a member of Azimio saying they voted for something they didn't read. And for that, I want to thank the coalition for always prioritizing knowledge. So mujipigie makofi nyinyi wenyewe. Number two, it is quite apparent that the time that is required to go through everything is not sufficient. So just like we requested the leadership to put together this one on the NADCO bills, on behalf of my colleagues, we are requesting that we do something similar on the finance bill, because that debate is going to be heavy in the coming days. And Dr. Annette, don't tire when we come back to you for us to hold those meetings. I will just say that it is quite exhausting for good people when bad people are in power, because it is quite clear that these people have unending reservoirs of evil. Every single day you wake up and they've conjured another silly idea or just bad ideas. And they say that we in the opposition are required to push back on these things. What I don't understand is, why can't you just do the right thing? Why not do the right thing? Although they say that the price of democracy is a ton of vigilance, these ones are overworking us by every single day, waking up with dumb ideas, with bad ideas, with very diabolical ideas. If you sleep and dream, your only dreams are how to make life even more difficult for Kenyans. Which other areas can you impart some pain on Kenyans until you get to the place where you are thinking of imposing taxation on bread and on motor vehicles, which are overtaxed in the first place? I think these people, we must give it to them. They really have depth when it comes to ways of hurting Kenyans. I will say two things and sit down. Honorable members, on this question of recognition of parliamentary parties, I want to plead with members that, just like it was done in the National Assembly, that you lifted the definition from your standing orders, it would be also prudent for us to lift from our own standing orders in the Senate, because they already have provision for recognition of parliamentary parties, and the bar has been set at 10 members. I am hoping that I'll be able to convince my colleague from Kitui, the Honorable Senator Wambua, because I know that he has a different opinion. Honorable members, lastly, on the political parties funding, I want to say, as SG of ODM, that I am aware that, in fact, the last time we had a PG, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, if you remember, the Honorable Mulu, I think he's called, Makali Mulu, gave a briefing, and he had told at a particular point there was a proposal to return the 1.4 billion shillings for political party funding that had been in the previous budget. The information we're getting right now is that there's already a proposal from Terry to cut that back to 600 million shillings for all qualifying political parties. So for me, really, they regret to take advantage of this process, to ring-fence political party funding, because the idea by this regime is to cripple us. I can ascertain here that all our programs at the party have ground to a halt. I am in arrears in all my county offices for over 6 months, and I have 44 county offices. Honorable Kalonzo and the team, we must think of how we ring-fence the political party funding. Lastly, on the division of revenue, I want to speak on behalf of the Senate and tell members of the Azimio coalition in the National Assembly, we were extremely proud of the position you took on this matter when the debate came to the floor of the House. We in the Senate can see light at the end of the tunnel, because for the first time, this matter is not being debated as a matter pitting the Senate against the National Assembly. And I am hoping, honorable members of the coalition leadership, that when we go to mediation, the instructions on members of the Azimio coalition who will be in that mediation team will be to stand with devolution, to stand with the Senate, because the figures we have proposed of 415 billion to the counties is something we can justify, and we are prepared to do that. So I am hoping that you will support us. So, honorable members, I want to stop there to recognize that there was my colleague, the SG of Wiper. I saw her in the room, but she left. And therefore, I want to invite the SG of, yes? Yes, the SG of Jubilee, the Honorable Kioni, who will invite the leadership for the comments, and then we close. And on behalf of the leadership of Nairobi, I want to invite all of you to Mathare so that we can distribute the food that you have put together very generously for the people affected by the floods across the country. I thank you and God bless you.
I thank you for this opportunity. Nilikuja nimechelewa pengine, lakini nikiangalia kwa program, kwa sababu hakuna mimi, sikuwa nimechelewa. But I just want to say that this NADICO thing that we have been talking about, remember, it was born out of maandamano, and KKK should never take it like it was a gift to us, or it was a, they were doing us a favor. It is not a favor that they are doing to us, and where we have gotten as members of parliament, tafadhali mjue ya kwamba tumefika pahali ya kwamba you are now our last point of defense. We tried it in all those sittings, and if you will members of parliament crack, if you are not able to give a pushback, then we'll have a serious problem. Because NADICO was not a ceasefire process, and it was not a benevolent act or an act of mercy by the KKK government. Azimio called for maandamano after it was clear that KK had no intention of doing what the people wanted. They were certainly going against the wishes of the people. The cost of living has continued going up, and the KK has also embarked on a process of undermining multi-party democracy. Parliament, without doubt, was held hostage, and it became an executive rubber stamp. As a result of which, we called for maandamano as Azimio. Lives were lost, the nation was sick, and this gave birth to the NADICO process that we have. And the bills that have been given to us are with us. I don't need to go through them. But this forum was very important for us because, as I said, parliamentarians, you must take very keen interest in the bills that are before us. Parliament is our last line of defense. Kenya has been through these processes before. I'm trying to be very loud so that the member of the county assembly can also hear. Kenya has gone through these processes before, where the government uses the law to perpetuate themselves to power. Remember, we have heard them saying that they would want to use the process that is before us to ensure that, or to try and get William Ruto a termless term in office. One other observation that we need to make, that NADCO has afforded IEBC an opportunity to do boundaries delimitation outside the constitution timeline that expired on the 24th in March 2024. But the question that we need to ask ourselves, and I can tell you, like senior counsel was saying here, wait for it, it is coming. How sure are you that this regime will not introduce amendments to violate constitutional timelines on the elections date? Colleague members of parliament, tafadhali nawaomba, umukienda kitanda kulala na hii watu ya KK, there is no other hope left for this country. The very true hope that is left is this widow of NADCO. Na Wakenya wale ambao wako na imani ya kwamba kuna jambo lolote linaweza fanyika after this, wanawaangalia. So don't lie to us that you are going for project. Those are stupid old stories. When you talk to Kenyans out there, they are suffering, and when they hear you saying some of these things, they wonder which umeagushwa kutoka which planet. Na ndio naona sisi watu ambao wanakaa karibu na mlima, because how is it that we had 32 members of parliament? In fact, in Azimio, it was Azimio, ODM, and the next largest parliamentary party was Jubilee. It is ODM, Jubilee, Wiper, DAP in that right. And we find ourselves that it is very difficult for us to even feature on programs because our members took off. I know that is why you forgot me on the program. We are not able to feature in Azimio. Na wale wengine wakisema they are shareholders there, everybody can see that they are actually also strangers in government, in that regime. So hatuko kwa serikali, na hapa pia tunafinywa, tunatoka nje. Lakini sio kwa ubaya, is because of bad manners by those people who are elected into parliament with a Jubilee ticket. And we have a whole region of Mount Kenya region that is not in government. By their own definition, unaweza angalia, they are actually inviting themselves to this Limuru thing, kwa sababu kule kumewaka joto, they have no stay. Na hapa pia tunajaribu kuona vile tutakaa. Kwa hivyo Friday, this is what has informed us and I want to tell you, what has informed us in the mountain is that our voice is lost. A block with almost 8 million votes is lost. And we meet on Friday, this Friday, at Limuru to do the Limuru 3. If you want to know where Limuru 1 was, it was there. There was Limuru 2, and we made some very fundamental decisions. Now, let me say this. Saying is saying that we are on this thing. We are saying that our revolution has started. Hatuna matumaini kwa sababu this is a disaster regime that we have in place. We start our revolutionary path on Friday, and we are starting it. It is actually our homegrown way of maandamano. Then we have the audacity to believe that the KK regime is not committed to fulfilling any of the promises that we have done, including enactment of the bills that we have talked about here. We believe they are not committed to that. They have continued overtaxing the people despite the NADCO report. They have indicated that the issues of cost of living is they are preserved, yet the cost of living has continued to go up. And despite demands by KK, they have no intention. Let me repeat. Despite our demands, KK has no intention of opening the server. I know you missed this. The judge who gave the orders, the temporary orders stopping the opening of the server, is the same judge who gave orders to Sabina in the night to stop us from naming Mwenje as a deputy minority leader. This is a big scheme. It's a big scheme, and we are missing it. And I can tell you, you are dealing with a horrible group of people. They are actually a disaster. They have continued killing all sectors. Agricultural sector, top of the list. Fake fertilizer, and you now have back Linturi. Hata nyinyi pia ni watu wa maajabu. Linturi is back to talk to us. Eddie Boyle, that guy is inviting himself to Lemuru. G2G, wizi tupu. Sugar Scado, housing levy, wanasema ongeza kodi ya rent ya hasara ili waweze kupata pesa nyingi ya housing levy. Hata wenda wazimu iko ndani yake. Wale ambao wanaelewa mambo ya Delmonte, lad. That is also another scandal. Davivi, as I finish. Davivi, 100,000 Kenyans are being evicted. Why? Kwa sababu Kulei ati aliuzia Ruto chamba ambayo iko na title that was given to Kenyans 1971, and we have the original title with the government seal. It is there. Oh, Mwenyezi Mungu. Egerton Lad, 2,000 acres taken by Sudi. He was ejected from there by watu na Michare. Ruai Siwarad imeenda. Disregard to court orders. Juzi tumeambiwa there is no vetting of IDs. We are now a borderless. I'm finishing. I'm just finishing. We have no vetting of IDs, so borderless. Goja 2027 mutachangaa wale walipiga kura wametoka wapi. They have been unable to heard of floods because it themselves is a disaster, and a disaster cannot declare another disaster a disaster. The Rimuru 3 that we are having on Friday, I want to conclude, is organized by political party leaders who are also members of Azimio and those who are not members of Azimio. Over 31 political parties have come together in that region. And we are calling ourselves together because we have come to a conclusion that there is no hope. The only thing we can do is to push back mpaka wakati yake ifike. Tafadhali nyinyi pia msaidie sisi. Shikilieni akina Sifuna. Don't allow these guys to collapse. They have collapsed everything and they are not going to help anything. If you have any iota of hope, wachana na hiyo. Tuombe Mwenyezi Mungu miaka 3 ikuiche kama jana. We throw them out. But we have to be very careful because they are also working kufanya hayo mambo yote. So I am saying we are going to be there. There are those leaders from our region who are also feeling na wengine wanafanya biashara na si baya, lakini tafadhali wachana na hiyo biashara kidogo, kuja tuungane pale. Tomorrow we have a meeting of leaders who are saying have not been invited in Mount Kenya region, and we are telling them there is nothing. We are not going to say that there is a presidential candidate in Mount Kenya. Sio shida yetu. Shida yetu ni mambo ambayo tumesukumwa naye. How can we be able to push back? Na sio Mount Kenya. These are problems that are across the nation. We expect that after Friday, we'll be able to do these movements across the country. Jamani, we have a disaster in power. If you are not careful, they will make you a disaster. Your Excellency, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Your Excellency, SKM, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Karibu sana. Thank you so much.
Hey, Jeremiah. That is Jeremiah Kioni for you. If you are careful, if you are not careful, he might declare you also a disaster. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a phenomenal morning, and I agree with what Senator Sifuna has just said on behalf of so many of you, that we will need a bit more time, a bit more interaction. Therefore, a retreat is truly in order. So these are not strictly resolutions, but I think this is what you have picked up for what you have picked. And let me please get my reading glass. Thank you much. These are reflections out of what has happened. But on devolution, thank you, Simio. Oh, you want a picture? I need flanking, man. Too many men. I think I think they missed the network. They didn't get the full network. Thank you. Thank you. Kila mtu patch. Yeah. If you can't make it, embrace. Thank you so much. But on something that came up on devolution, are you members of parliament aware that there are regulations that are coming up in order to specifically undermine devolution, give primacy of place to village administrators and the CS Interior? Watch out for that. What members have agreed is there must be clear timelines for the implementation of the National Dialogue Committee NADCO bills. And there's a proposal here to have this within 2 months, and on the constitutional amendment, 6 months. We are not talking about parliamentary months. You're talking about calendar months. 2 months for the bills that are 4 of them emanating from the Senate and 4 of them emanating from the National Assembly. And already the IBC amendment bill is already off. I think they're already on to second reading, and this is making progress. But the constitutional amendment, 6 months. These are products of a negotiated process, and we stress negotiated, that came because of the sacrifices of more than 72 Kenyans who lost their lives through the demonstrations. We can only honor them by doing the right thing. We urge you as Azimio legislators and those who want to be on the right side of history to be vigilant and thoroughly scrutinize all the bills that come to the committees and the floor of the House. Let us ensure that they do not claw back on all our negotiated gains. Thirdly, the Kenya Kwanza regime continues its avarice appetite for taxation. The new raft of taxes in the Finance Bill 2024, from bread to M-Pesa transactions and motor vehicle taxes, speaks to their callousness and inhumanity. I notice that Parliament has given the 28th of this month as the last day for those who want to submit the memoranda by way of public participation. The impeachment trial of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development, Mithika Linturi, was the biggest farce thus far. That 7 MPs could overturn the vote of 149 members of parliament. How would you call this? It's absolutely ridiculous. Mr. Linturi should do the honorable thing and resign. Number 5, this is a clarion call to the Azimio fraternity and all Kenyans of goodwill that we are ready to exercise our constitutional right under Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya. That is the right to peaceably assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions to public authorities. We thank Conrad Adenauer Stiftung for hosting us this morning. We continue to appreciate your partnership in broadening the democratic space in our country. We thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, I think that our friend Jeremiah Kioni and the 31 political parties, we really applaud what you're doing. We really do. And we wish you well. So if you see us making a technical know that it's because we really want to encourage you. Or if we don't show up in any way, you know we are still with you. It could be the beginning of a people's revolution. I thank you. But don't you feel that you are not, by the way, you know, Keone knows, he knows this very well, and I'm sure he didn't mean what he said. He was not complaining. No. I know Jeremiah now so well that he was just trying to, that's why we made him head of the technical team.
Thank you very much. Allow me to invite Okango to give directions.
Okay, one more announcement. We have lunch that has been prepared for the guests. So members of parliament, please, before you leave, and the party officials that were invited, before you leave, please, there's upstairs, you'll have your lunch, and then you can leave at your own pleasure. Thank you. National anthem. Okay, national anthem.
Let's